here today. We do have, like Adriana said, quite a few of our lovely alum. We're so excited to see their beautiful faces, and they're going to kind of be talking about themselves and what they do. If you have any questions to ask about, like the alumni perspective, that kind of thing, you're welcome to put them in the chat session. For now, we're going to start off with them introducing themselves, and then we'll go through a few of our questions that we've prepared. But if you guys have specific questions for them, please just go ahead and put them in that chat session. But for now, we're going to ask that each one of our alumni, they say their name, what major they had when they were a student, the year they graduated, and where they're originally from, and their job title, company, if they want to share that information. I know that's a lot of stuff, so if any of you guys forget what I just asked, let me know. But let's go ahead and start with Kylie.
Hello, my name is Kylie. I graduated from SDSU in 2016 with bachelor's degrees in psychology and criminal justice. I'm from Oregon originally, and I am actually working in the SDSU out-of-state Office of Admissions now.
Okay, Danielle, you gotta unmute.
I promise I've done this before. Hi, my name's Danielle. I graduated in 2018 with a bachelor's in cellular and molecular biology. I currently work for the University of Washington studying HIV, and I will be enrolling in a PhD program in the fall. I'm originally from San Diego.
Bradley?
My name is Bradley. I was a marketing major at SDSU, graduated in the spring of 2018. I'm originally from Chicago, and I live in Chicago now as a digital marketing manager at Camping World.
Christopher?
What's up, guys? My name's Chris Ignazito. Nice to meet you guys. I graduated in May 2017. I majored in business information systems. My current position is a senior systems analyst at Sharp Healthcare. I currently live in San Diego, and I'm originally from Portland, Oregon.
Allie?
Hi guys, my name's Allie. I'm originally from Massachusetts. I graduated in 2018 with a bachelor's in sustainability and a minor in business management. I'm currently still in San Diego working downtown for an energy efficiency company as an account analyst.
And Gracie?
I am Gracie. I graduated in 2019. I'm originally from Seattle. I majored in marketing, and now I work as a digital marketing manager at Camping World.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. So as Heidi mentioned, if you have any questions for our wonderful alumni, you can go ahead and write them in the chat. I figured I would start us off with a question that you guys probably receive many times. So when you were a student, what kind of activities, clubs, or Greek life were you involved in, and how did it help prepare you for your professional pathway? Since we ended with Gracie, why don't we start with Gracie?
I was in the Greek life system at SDSU, and I think that probably helped prepare me professionally by giving me a lot of connections that I probably wouldn't have had if I wasn't in it. I met a lot of people who had internships outside of SDSU. They were part of programs that I originally was not a part of before meeting them, and I think it was really helpful to just meet a lot of people and help build a connection, since I wouldn't have had that as an out-of-state student otherwise.
Nice. Allie?
Hi, I was also part of Greek life. So the same thing as Gracie, it definitely helped me build friendships and bonds and connections outside of Massachusetts. It definitely kept me connected to San Diego long after I graduated, which has been awesome.
Nice. Chris?
I myself was also involved in Greek life as well, but aside from that, I think what really helped me prepare for my probably my position outside of college was definitely just joining as many student organizations as possible. I felt like it was really helpful, like Gracie mentioned, just to have like commonalities and friends in all your classes going through it. And I felt like that really helped me line up my job and just education in general.
Nice. Bradley?
I was part of the SDSU Ambassador Program, and I was also involved in the Business Honors Program and a couple of other business organizations on campus. And those are all great experiences to learn the campus and meet a lot of great people while I was there.
Great. Danielle?
I was a part of the College of Sciences Student Council, and I was also part of the Black Student Science Organization and many other science organizations that helped me figure out what path I wanted to take in terms of my professional career and education.
Awesome. Kylie?
I was in the Criminal Justice Student Association and a few different honors organizations on campus. Kind of like what everyone else has said, the networking piece of it was huge post-graduation, but when I was a student, it was really helpful to just kind of have people to bounce ideas off of, take courses together, you know, attend internship fairs together, things like that. It was sort of an instant community within my program.
Awesome. So thank you again for introducing yourselves, letting us know, you know, some of the great pathways, activities you guys were involved in. Again, for our students that are joining us, if you have any questions, feel free to write them in our Zoom chat, and Heidi and I will definitely make sure that we read them out loud to our alumni. We do have some other questions that typically come up that Heidi and I receive on the road. And I think it's best for our alumni to answer because, of course, they went through it. They were in your shoes just not too long ago. Heidi, do you want to start off with some of the other questions?
Sure. So I'll start with Danielle. So Danielle, we often get a lot of questions about if there's opportunity to do research on campus or off campus as an undergraduate student. I know that you're doing research now, but can you talk a little bit about some of the experiences you had when you were a student at San Diego State doing your bachelor's degree?
Yeah, of course. So I started in an academic lab on campus in heart disease research, and that was a really good opportunity to get a foundation for research. Many students stayed in labs throughout their 4 years. I decided that I wanted to try industry, and so I was able to get an internship off campus at Pfizer, working in their cancer vaccines and immunotherapeutics department. And there are tons of opportunities in biotech in the San Diego area if that's something you're interested in. And SDSU also provides students with funding and resources to do research on campus as well.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I'll go ahead and ask this question because I feel like being the admissions counselor for students coming from the East Coast, I get a lot of my East Coast families, especially my mom's, worried that their students, you know, whether they're going to come home or stay in San Diego. So this question's for Allie. Being from the East Coast, what made you decide to stay in California in order to pursue your career? And how did your family go ahead and, you know, adjust to you staying in California?
That is a great question. My mom appreciates it. There were a lot of different factors actually that kind of led to me staying in San Diego. Number one, it's San Diego. It's beautiful and amazing, and I've made incredible friendships here that I knew I couldn't leave right after college. I also was able to make a lot of really important connections that actually led to me getting my job in San Diego that I have right now. So that was a big part of it too, living here over the summers, being able to stay in this culture, meet more people, connect to more people. It was just really important for me to kind of grow myself here outside of home. That doesn't mean that I don't go home a lot. That doesn't mean I don't see my family or FaceTime them every other day right now. My family actually loves San Diego, and my mom visits every other year. I always go home for Christmas. So there were a lot of conversations had, but at the end of it, I think we all decided that, especially staying in San Diego, which is such an environmental hub, so many opportunities for me as a sustainability major, wanting to get my master's in environmental science. There were just so many more opportunities for me here.
So on the flip side of that, there obviously are students that choose to go home after they graduate. And Bradley, you were one of them. What's that experience been like for you? Was your family happy you came home? And then also, do you feel like it was still a good decision to go out of state and spend that time somewhere else for your bachelor's degree?
Yeah, let me answer that in reverse order. Absolutely a great decision to go to San Diego for school. I miss San Diego every day. I wish I was there. It's pouring rain here as usual, like any other day of the week in beautiful Chicago. I loved being there. I loved the experience. At first, when I was looking to move across the country for school, I was super nervous about that idea and didn't know if I wanted to go all the way across the country. Definitely had no regrets there. It was one of the greatest decisions I ever made. And even if you're someone who loves your hometown or loves wherever you live, it's really nice to get away and try something new for a couple of years, because it really either makes you appreciate where you're from more or get to experience new parts of the country or world that you haven't been able to before. And I moved back to Chicago after I graduated because I had a job opportunity here that I was doing pretty close to full time even throughout my senior year. And I had made a bunch of connections here in Chicago. And it was a great opportunity. So I moved back home exclusively for the job opportunity. I wish I could have stayed in California and in the San Diego area, but it was a good opportunity that I didn't want to pass up. Coming back home's been interesting. I live about 30 minutes from home, so I get to see my family a decent amount of time. But it's a different stage of life being back, so I enjoy it.
And sort of staying on the same lines, Gracie, you not only went to school in California, but you lived in Illinois for some time with your job, and now you're in a different state. Can you kind of talk about that transition?
Yeah, so I actually did a similar internship to management track that Brad did. We're at the same company now. And so I chose to go out of state for school, similar to why Brad and Allie did as well, to get new experiences, meet new people, have a, experience a new part of the country. And then as much as like Brad, I would like to still be in San Diego. I had a really appealing job offer at the same company as Brad in Illinois. And now that I've moved to another part of the country, I've realized how different all areas of this country are. And it's been really helpful, I think, to have the experience at San Diego State and just in San Diego in general to kind of prep me to move to, again, another state. I don't think I would have been able to move to Illinois on my own if I hadn't have gone out of state for school and had a lot of the resources and learning experiences that I did at SDSU.
Nice.
So I'm going to put our next question to Chris. Chris, you're doing a pretty specific job, and I know, like, we've stayed in contact and you've managed to really work up very quickly. Can you talk a little bit about how your education, your classwork specifically relates to what you're doing now and how it's prepared you for your current position?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So again, I work in IT, so specifically to hospital devices and applications going on. But my education going forward through San Diego, I thought was absolutely perfect. I always say that San Diego State was just a perfect feeder in the sense of like technology into my job right now. So classes and specific education work that I thought was super helpful when I was going through was definitely like usage of just group projects and stuff, and the actual terminology that you learn in college. You never realize how or when you're going to be using it, but it's kind of crazy that they use the exact same kind of lingo for everyday actions that I do for my work that we were doing in group projects all through from the start of freshman year of college. Office hours, and also I thought office hours was by far the most helpful thing of San Diego State ever, like in college. So I recommend all of you guys to go in and introduce yourself to all your professors in the first week if you guys decide to go. But mainly I ended up getting an internship connection from just doing that. I ended up meeting one of my project management professors, and I was struggling in the class and talked to him, and he hooked me up with the recruiter at Sharp Healthcare, and yeah, I guess the rest is history. And I'm a senior analyst in 3 years, so it's been going well for me here in San Diego.
That's great. We always love a success story.
And all of you guys are success stories.
All of
Absolutely.
you. We love hearing about all of your achievements. Transitioning more towards education and, you know, pursuing that path, Danielle and Kylie, you both are pursuing your graduate degree. Kylie, how is the transition, you know, how has that been going from an undergraduate student to a graduate student? And also you're soon going to be an SDSU, you know, double alumni. So how did that transition work out for you?
Yeah, so I think everybody in this chat can probably verify I'm a very proud SDSU alumni. So it was sort of always on the table that I was going to complete my post-grad work here as well. In terms of the transition, I chose to take a couple years off between my undergraduate and my master's degree, which I'm really glad that I did. Following my graduation, I was a case manager coordinator for a nonprofit here in San Diego, and my degrees were in psychology and criminal justice. So I utilized those every day. I got really valuable experience and sort of on-the-job training, which really informed the program that I'm now going into. I think had I gone directly from undergrad to postgrad, I would have chosen a totally different master's program, sort of blindly. And now I have a good idea of what I want to do, and am able to utilize the program that I'm going into to sort of gear my future in that way. But yeah, it was always sort of the plan to stay at SDSU. I will be affiliated with SDSU in some way for the rest of my life, I'm sure.
So once again, we do want to just put a reminder out there. If anyone has questions that you'd like to ask any of our lovely panelists, please go ahead and put them in the chat. But until we see anything in there, we will continue kind of posing questions and things that come up all the time. So we'll move forward. This is not for anyone in particular, just whoever might want to answer it or has like a particular story to share. Do any of you want to talk about maybe a favorite professor you had, someone that might have had an impact on your success in the career world? Just go ahead and speak up.
I have one. My professor, Dr. Henry, in the criminal justice program, wrote me letters of recommendation for grad school and a few other things as well. And he's still my mentor. I graduated 4 years ago now, and we still communicate very regularly, and he's still my mentor academically and professionally. He was, like Chris said, I went in like the first week of class and communicated with him and established a really good relationship with him, and that's proven to be really beneficial for the last few years.
Thanks, Kylie. Anyone else?
Yeah, I got one as well. My professor was Professor Troves. He was my project management professor at San Diego State. I thought he was like awesome. Again, I didn't like excel in that class whatsoever, but what I thought was super beneficial, aside from like the grade and all that, was essentially just meeting him. And what he taught me a lot in the office hours was more so just about how in business professionalism, it's just about being friendly and making the connections that you need to make to network successfully throughout the rest of your life. So I thought that was really like a life learning moment for me. It was like, I think I was a junior in college at the time, but ever since then, I just realized that education, as important as it is, meeting the people and actually developing relationships with them is just as equally as important as well.
Thanks, Chris.
Anyone else? No? Well, we do have a question in the chat, so I'll go ahead and ask that. San Diego is known for great weather and beaches. What is something else about San Diego that makes it such a great place to attend college? Danielle, I'd like to start off with you because, like me, you're a San Diego native. So I feel like we're always learning new things for our city. You know, since you are a San Diego native, what was, you know, something you found out about San Diego, especially now that you are in grad school in another state, that, you know, made San Diego just extra special while you were attending school here?
I would say that would be the professional community. outside of the university. So there are a lot of young professionals that you can network with. There are a lot of universities and community colleges in the area, people trying to do the same things, have the same goals, that you can connect with and really share experiences that way. I mean, growing up in San Diego, I had like my high school friends that moved away, but I had to develop new relationships, people who were in my field, people who had similar interests. And San Diego is such a big city that you're able to do that. I mean, whatever interests you have, wherever you're trying to go, you can find that even outside of the university, which is really nice.
Nice. Anybody else want to chime in on anything great about SDSU?
One thing that
was great.
One thing that I really liked about the city of San Diego was how close SDSU was to everything. Being from a big city like Chicago, you either have super urban schools or super rural schools. So you're either right in the middle of downtown where you have to take public transit to get everywhere and you're in the middle of the hustle and bustle, or you're out 4 hours in the middle of a cornfield in central Iowa. No offense to anyone from the Midwest. But with San Diego, you kind of have that semi-urban feeling where you're close enough to everything, where you have tons of industry, you could get a job around there, you could do cool internships around there, there's stuff to do, but yet you're not in the middle of this super packed urban environment like you would be in any other major city. So that was one of my favorite parts about kind of the geography of San Diego.
Yeah.
So,
I think,
yes, go ahead. Allie.
Didn't mean to interrupt.
Sure.
I was going to say, going off of what Bradley just said, for me, as you all already know, I didn't have a car my 4 years of college. So having the trolley come straight to campus and be able to take me to one of my jobs downtown working for the San Diego Padres, being able to just go out and get groceries really easily and come straight back to campus, that was a really big plus for me, especially as an out-of-state student, because I know how much more difficult it is for us to be able to bring cars and things like that to campus, especially freshman year when you're living on campus. So that was huge for me.
Anyone else before I move on to the next question? Well, Heidi, do you want to take over the next question?
Yeah, so we have another question in the chat. So the question is about, did everyone attend San Diego State for all 4 years? Did anyone come in as a transfer? So all of the panelists that we have today, I can go ahead and say that none of them transferred. They all started as their freshman year. But maybe talk about, okay, so first of all, raise your hand if you graduated in 4 years, because this comes up all the time. Okay, exactly. So Danielle and Kylie, you are two that did not graduate in 4 years, and there are very specific reasons why. Maybe you guys can talk about, number one, why you did not graduate in 4 years, because I know you both have good reasons for that. And maybe talk about the transition that you had coming from high school to college. I know you can't really speak about transitioning from a community college, but just talk about that transition in general. So we'll start with Danielle.
Yeah, great. So as I mentioned, my major was cellular and molecular biology. And one, there were more credits than usual to complete for the degree. And two, I personally decided to stay at a 5th year to take graduate level courses to have that padding on my transcript for my next step to graduate school. So in my last year, I took mainly 500 level courses, which are not a part of the degree. They're just extra. That also gave me time to apply to programs because I knew I was going to stay in school. So yeah, that's why it took me 5 years.
And Kylie?
So I did 4.5. I added my second degree, my second major, kind of late in the game. I had sort of decided that I wanted to add it when I was studying abroad, which I did in my junior year. So from that point on, I took between 18 and 24 credits per semester and every summer to sort of catch up. But it did end up taking me about 4.5 years. Similarly, like Danielle said, because of my double program, I don't remember the math anymore, but it was like an additional however many credits, which was just not feasible in 4 years. So took 4.5.
Did any of you guys change your major multiple times? None of you?
Hi again.
Only
I
emphasis.
major 3 times.
3 times.
But you still
Yeah.
graduated in 4 years.
Yeah, that was
So
a
it's
marathon. Kind of similar to Kylie. Well, I switched to my first major at the end of freshman year. So that was a bit easier of a transition just because freshman year, I feel across the board is pretty similar. For most majors, I would say, for your bachelor's degree, kind of just getting those general education courses, doing all the classes that everybody kind of needs to take when you're getting your bachelor's. My next transfer was a bit more difficult. So I did the same as Kylie. I took courses over the summer. I took a few online courses as well throughout the school year so that I could take more credits. And I graduated technically in 4 years and a summer, but I like to say 4 years.
You did it. And then Chris, you within the business college, you changed your emphasis within that college, correct?
Yeah, I switched it 3 times before.
But you still graduated in 4 years and you're thriving now.
Yeah, so about that. So I switched my emphasis 3 times before my sophomore year. And then I found out I decided I want to go into like business tech. So yeah, so I know a lot of the majors are impacted and whatnot. So specifically with the business school, you can choose your emphasis within the first 2 years or upon reaching your 60 credits. And then you make your final decision. But majority of the classes and coursework is all generalized, specific to your at least major for the first couple of years. So if you guys are on the rocks about like what major essentially or emphasis in a major to go into, you do have time to change it and still graduate in 4 years.
And I think what's really great is all of you had different pathways. You're all successful. You all graduated in that certain great criteria. We also have someone like Gracie who knew what she wanted to do, had a lot of college credit, and you actually finished in less than 4 years, correct?
Yeah, I came in with about 19 credits from high school from doing AP IB programs in Washington. And then I took, I think it was 2 or 3 summer classes and ended up graduating in 3 years. So it's definitely possible.
Yeah. So, one thing to get from this entire panel is, SDSU is here to help you guys. All of these alumni here have different pathways, but we'll definitely, help you guys out. That way we can make you more successful. I do want to move on to the next question. It's a really good question. And I think we have a few of you on the panel that studied abroad. So the question is, did any of you study abroad? If so, how was that? I think Allie and Kylie, you two studied abroad. Did anybody else study abroad on the panel? So Allie, do you want to start us off with your study abroad experience?
Yeah, absolutely. I studied abroad in Rome, Italy, spring semester of my junior year. It was arguably the best decision and experience of my life, as everybody on the panel knows. Italy is one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. When I was abroad, I was actually able to complete 4 of my classes for my minor in business management. So I went to an American institution in Rome that taught in all English, which was great. And then I took an Italian class because you need to be able to get around. I was able to do 28 cities, I believe, in 13 countries. So I definitely got to travel on the weekends, spring break. I met a lot of incredible humans from all over the world, which I'm still actually in contact with. We FaceTime once a month. So it was one of the best experiences of my life. The amount of food I ate too was just incredible. Lots of pasta.
Kylie?
Yeah, so I studied at Stockholm University in Sweden. I chose Sweden because I studied French and Spanish in high school and really wanted to go to a country where neither of those languages were spoken. I just wanted a totally different immersive experience in that way. Really didn't even have Sweden on the radar. And then I went to a study abroad meeting on campus and my best friend and I texted each other and were like, how about Stockholm? So I ended up actually studying abroad with my best friend, which was a really good experience for us. We ended up rooming together in Stockholm. And so I sort of had a piece of home and comfort with me the whole time. But yeah, like Allie said, it was such a fun semester. I did it the first half of my junior year. Also got to travel a bunch. I mostly stayed somewhat locally, so I got to go, the best trip was I got to go up to northern Sweden to Kiruna and did dog sledding to see the Northern Lights, which to this day was probably the coolest 3 hours of my life. So I definitely recommend study abroad to everybody. It was an incredible experience.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pose another question just to anyone who wants to answer it. Did any of you guys all obviously had on-campus jobs, but can any of you talk about if you utilized career services specifically to find whether it be on-campus employment or like do resume workshops or internship fairs or anything like that? Did any of you take advantage of the services that career services had on campus? You want to talk, if you want to talk about it. No?
Was the mentorship program part of that career services? I'm pretty sure it was.
Yes, it is a part of career services.
SDSU, I just wanted to make sure. So yeah, I did SDSU. I actually did the resume building workshop one time, which I thought was super helpful. So within that course, like that little workshop that you do, they teach you basically format of like what a resume should look like, what's too busy, what's not enough, what specific like companies are looking for. And also what I thought was really great is that for these workshops, they would bring in like recruiters and or other like professionals to essentially grade it or just work with you to see what they were looking for. I also was in the SDSU mentorship, Aztec mentorship program. So that's where they pair you with an alumni of San Diego that has somewhat of the similar experience that you're majoring in and or what you're looking to get into. So specifically, my mentor actually was awesome. He ended up being a VP of a company out here, of a tech company in San Diego. And I think he got me some 10 interviews or something like that, or like 10 different connections with different companies. My dream company currently in San Diego, he actually ended up being like the CIO of the company with him. So I'm still in communications as I'm trying to work my way into that company eventually. But yeah, San Diego benefits continue to come out even 3 years after graduation. So those were some of the workshops and opportunities that the career services offers as well.
Along those lines, can any of you guys talk about specific internships that you did while you were a student? Because I know you had them.
I'll go. I'll talk about the career services first because I love them. Career services was amazing on SDSU's campus. I actually went to an internship fair specifically to get the internship that I ended up getting from the internship fair. I worked for the Port of San Diego in their environmental department, in the energy department specifically. So I worked there for a summer and was planning on working there for 2 years, except my Aztec mentor that I had my senior year, who helped me get a bunch of interviews, just like Chris, ended up reaching out to me halfway through the summer and asked me if I wanted a job. So the Aztec mentor program is still working for me. I'm currently working with my Aztec mentor. He is much higher in the company than I am, but that's okay. He actually checks in on me quarterly. We kind of go out, get coffee, talk about things. He's helping me apply to master's programs right now, figuring out kind of what my next move is going to be career-wise. So I'd say that career services has been wonderful. And like Chris, it's still helping me long after college.
Danielle, you had a pretty cool internship, right?
I go next. So I also utilize the services in career services with resume building, and that helped me land an internship at Pfizer. It's basically big pharma. And I worked there for almost 2 years before I moved to Seattle. And that was a really great experience because not many undergrads get the experience to be in industry. It's usually something that you do like well after you graduate, in science at least. And so I met some really great people there. like the others, I'm still in contact with them. They wrote me letters of recommendation to help me get into the PhD program I'm in now. And it was just an overall really good experience.
And I know Bradley and Gracie, you guys have had quite a few like internship and seminar opportunities within your college, correct?
Yeah, I had 4 internships during the 3 years that I was at SDSU. I interned at CBS Radio. I interned at a small marketing agency in San Diego. I interned at the San Diego Padres as a marketing intern, as well as the company that I ended up taking a full-time position at. I think the coolest internship out of all of those is definitely working San Diego Padres. There were over 6,500 applicants. They selected 12, and 3 of those 12 were San Diego State students. So that's proof that it's definitely a great connection to the San Diego community. They had some of the other 12 students were from New York. We had a student from Yale and a student from Harvard who were part of the internship program with us. So definitely a high-powered school for sure. And then the internship I had with my current company, I was able to travel all across the country multiple times. Brad had a very similar experience with that internship. And so I think I'm a huge supporter of internships. I think it's a great way to make professional connections outside of the classroom. And SDSU, I think, did a really good job at helping us not only know that internships are so important, but helping us connect with the San Diego community and getting those.
Yeah, kind of going off of that, I think there's a lot you can learn in the classroom, but there's only so much. And I learned, just as much, if not more, doing internships throughout my time in college. I did a couple small ones while I was in San Diego. And then the summer leading up to my senior year and my senior year, I worked at the company I did now. And I learned so much that was actually related to my major and that went into really post-grad career after that, which was really cool. I got to travel a bunch with the company and learn a ton, and then it landed me a job the first week after graduation. So definitely recommend internships, and I think there's a lot of opportunities in San Diego to do that.
Kind of staying within the same sort of field, I'm sure our guests can tell that you guys were involved in a plethora of things on campus. Besides your activities, your clubs, your internships, did any of you have a job? And if so, what was your job? Or did you have multiple jobs on campus, and how did you manage that? I would like to start with Allie, because I think she probably had the most jobs out of all of the students. So Allie, do you want to go ahead and start that off?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to. Yeah, I worked a lot in college. That's really good. I loved it. I love working and having something to do. So it got a little challenging at times, but definitely worth it. I worked on campus, of course, with all of you wonderful humans for 3 years in the out-of-state admissions office, which was really fun for me because being an out-of-state student, it's just really nice to be able to connect with other students, especially ones who are maybe not sure about if they want to come to SDSU, and kind of getting to share my own personal experiences. That was one of the highlights of my time at SDSU, so thank you. I also worked for the San Diego Padres as part of their event coordination staff. So we kind of did all of the crazy things you could think of in a ballpark, and you don't really know who did it, like who's giving out those free giveaways and running the wheelchair runs and their free customer service. That was all us, which was very opposite from working at SDSU. It was a lot of heavy lifting and late nights and long summer days, but I got to meet some of the most incredible people. I had so many amazing experiences being able to be on an MLB field, which I know not a lot of people would be able to say they have been, and it's such an incredible, beautiful stadium. I enjoyed every second I was there. And I also worked on SDSU campus again for about a year, I believe, in their oh my goodness, I'm blanking, in their catering department. So I just kind of helped clean the silverware, set up different events on campus, things like that, which was also really fun to just kind of be able to hang out with fellow students and make more friends that way.
Thank you. Danielle?
Yes, so I also had a number of jobs during my time at SDSU, working in the out-of-state admissions office. I think I was there for a little bit over 2 years. I also worked for SeaWorld of San Diego in their education and conservation department, so just educating people about the animals and stuff there. I also, less relevant but super fun job is working jazz festivals in the area at like a Cajun food booth, just to show you that there's lots of ways to make money if you need to work to put yourself through school or to provide for yourself. In that managing multiple jobs at once, I really just kept a very tight schedule. So like planning out every hour of your day, planning out when you're going to study, when you're going to work, when you're going to socialize, when you're going to eat, grocery shop, really detailed planning, like everything in order to manage and continue to pass classes, also show up for work and get enough sleep.
Sleep is very important when you're a student. Bradley, you have quite a few jobs on campus and different roles as well.
Yeah,
You have your own business for a little bit?
I did at one point, yeah. Yeah, I worked in the admissions office and also as an SDSU ambassador doing like all the campus tours and summer orientations and stuff like that. So working for 2 different offices on campus, and then I did my current job remotely for a whole year during senior year. And then I did a bunch of side stuff, and I met some people on campus and we decided
Uh-oh. I think we lost him for a bit.
The network in our office in Chicago isn't great, so.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now. Nope. I think you're back. I think you're back. Nope. All right. So we'll come back to Bradley when he comes back. Oh, you're back.
Does it work now?
Yes.
I hate this office.
I think we got you when you were talking about being a student ambassador and working in our office. In addition to your current job, you were actually working prior to your graduation, right?
Yeah, so I did that my whole senior year working remotely from California. So I still had to do a bunch of calls at like 6, 7 a.m. Pacific time for Central time stuff. And then my roommates and some friends that I met out there started a business taking advantage of the grad photo market. So that was our side business.
How many of you guys did Bradley take your grad photos?
Wow, at least half of you. Well, I hope you guys left him some good reviews on Yelp.
Strong.
Chris, you were involved in Greek life and worked in our office and did a lot of philanthropy work. So how was that? What was that like, juggling all of that?
I'm busy. But no, I'm kidding. It was totally worth it. In college, I was in high school. I remember being like, oh, this is crazy. You're on an 8-hour block basically of just school. In college, you have just endless amounts of free time outside of class, and which I recommend you guys should put to good use and take advantage of all the free time that you guys have. But yeah, philanthropy work. I did a lot of volunteer work at like the San Diego Food Bank out here. That's one of my favorite like charities and stuff to give back time to for free time. Organizations though, yeah, I was in a fraternity in Greek life, taking on leadership roles in different organizations, and ultimately helped start one of the co-founding ones for the out-of-state admissions association. I don't know if that's still going on though with Corey, but yeah, everything was great. And philanthropy work and all the free time that you have in college really just helps just create a really nice balanced lifestyle, at least for college, and helps you prepare just for everyday life outside of it as well.
And Gracie, you too, you not only worked in our office, but you were also involved in so many other things on campus, and graduating in under 4 years. So how did you manage to do all of that?
Yeah, there was one semester where I was taking 20 units. I had an internship that I worked 30 hours a week, I was also working in the admissions office and was still fully in Greek life. I personally am someone who likes to have a packed schedule. I think I actually get more work done on time when I have a packed schedule than if I just have 8 hours a day to watch Netflix. So I think a lot of it just had to do with planning and being organized, all of which is stuff that you start to learn your freshman year, which I think kind of relates back to everyone living in the dorms together. I think that's a really good place to learn how to be a college student because everyone is going through the same thing at the same time. A lot of out-of-state students are living with you in the dorms or residential halls, and that's kind of where you learn to be organized and you learn to really just kind of get all of your work done together and also have fun and all of that. So I think living in the residential halls and with students for the next 3 years is really what helps me manage my time.
Nice. Heidi, do you want to take the question that's in the chat?
Well, I think that actually Kylie would be a good person to touch on this because you were probably one of the most involved students on this on the campus. You had 2 majors, you had a minor, you were in honors college, you studied abroad, and you were incredibly successful academically. So can you talk about like how you managed that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the planners in the out-of-state Office of Admissions were something to behold. All of us got very regular use out of our highlighters. Yeah, same thing. I've always been good with time management. In high school, that was a strong point for me. So I carried that over into college, and similar to Gracie, I do well with a busy schedule. But yeah, absolutely. There was an adjustment period because you do go from being in a very structured course setting in high school to, you might have a class at 9 a.m. and then not have another one until 3 o'clock. And living in the residence halls, I saw a lot of students sort of falter with that free time. And I just tried to take advantage of it the best way that I could, whether that was working on campus or in one of my internships or getting stuff ready for a basketball game, trying to just use that time the best way that I could. Yeah, that's part of the fun of college for me. I grew up a lot and learned how to kind of handle all of that in real time at SDSU.
And what are you're part of the show, is that correct?
I was. Now I am show alumni.
And for those of you that may not know, can you explain like what the show is?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's the student section that goes absolutely hog wild at basketball games and football games. Many of us, for my 4.5 years, I traveled to most away football and basketball games. We still do. We have a group now of about 35 of us that go to the football and basketball tournaments every year. That was probably, this is not the most academically based experience, but it was probably the most memorable from my college experience. I met some of the best people I know, and it has actually proven to be beneficial professionally too, because we are sort of notorious in the college sports world, and it's been a good talking point for a lot of different scenarios, and it really did teach me valuable lessons that I could carry over professionally as well. Also, it was a ton of fun.
Thanks, Kylie. Okay, yeah, so we do have another question in the chat. I think it's especially important for maybe some of you East Coasters to answer this, or coming from Midwest. How often did you guys go home to visit your family? And then also maybe how often did your family come visit you? So does anyone want to take that one?
Too often.
I think, Bradley, you should start us off because your family has come to visit, and you still come to visit quite a lot, right?
Yeah, San Diego's like our family's second home. When I went out there, they came to visit a lot because they wanted to be out in San Diego, and my younger sister actually decided to also attend San Diego State, so she is a current student there now. So my family spends a lot of time out there, and I've been fortunate enough to come back pretty frequently since I've graduated. So I would say going to SDSU, I didn't know how often I would be able to go home or how many times my family would come to see me. And looking back on the 4 years, it was probably more than they needed to come.
Allie, I know that, you know, we've touched on this, like you're very close with your family. How often did you get home throughout your 4 years, and how often, like, would your family come visit?
Yeah, I am really close with my family, especially my mom. We're the only two girls in a sea of boys with my family, so it's nice to keep in touch with her. I tried to go home every other Thanksgiving if I could manage it, and I went home every year for Christmas. We have, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, 4 or 5 weeks in the winter off. So it was a nice amount of time to go home and see my brothers and see my parents and my best friend and just kind of be able to be with them. And it was really nice too, because after the 5 weeks were over, they were ready for me to leave and I was ready to come back. So it was a good amount of time. The summers, freshman year, I went home, but after that, I actually lived in San Diego to work for the Padres. They utilized that though, and my mom comes out, I believe, every year. My dad's about every other year. My whole family saved up and came out for my graduation, which was really, really special, including my grandparents, which was amazing to kind of show them what my life had been like for 4 years that they hadn't ever really been able to experience just because they were so far away. So that was a really special experience to be able to show my brothers SDSU's beautiful campus and things like that. But I'd say go home minimum 4 times a year, especially now that I've graduated. I go home every fall because I love the foliage.
So we want to go ahead and kind of wrap things up, and really we so appreciate you guys being here with us. Both of the students that are potentially considering San Diego State, that you joined us today, but I want to thank our lovely alumni. We're so proud of you guys. You guys are out there killing it in the world, and you're doing great things and making San Diego State look amazing. Before we sign off, does anyone have any last minute words of wisdom or anything that you feel like you would have wanted to know if you were a senior trying to decide where to go to college for the next 4 years? Just go ahead and unmute if you have anything you'd like to leave us with.
I think SDSU was that great. You guys got everything you needed, right?
Kylie?
I was just gonna say go Aztecs. That was my contribution.
Yeah, if you guys decide to come to San Diego State, you can look me up in the Aztec Mentor Program later on. I'll be in there for you guys, no worries.
Our Aztecs love to give back.
Danielle, hey, it's all a community. Once an Aztec, always an Aztec.
Danielle, did you have some last minute words or wisdom for us?
I was just gonna say, I moved to Seattle and I'm glad I took that leap. It was later, it wasn't when I was 18, but I definitely just encourage anyone who's debating on whether or not they should leave home to go ahead and do it, because it's a huge growth opportunity. And it's something that you'll never know whether or not you are going to succeed if you don't do it. So go for it.
Good wisdom.
Thank you guys for joining us so much. We really appreciate it. And like Kylie said, go Aztecs. Have a good one, guys.
Thanks guys for joining us. Have a good one. See ya.
Thanks. Bye.